Imagine waking up, not to the gentle glow of dawn, but to a sun that has barely moved. The light outside is just as bright as it was when you went to sleep. The shadows have only shifted a tiny bit. This isn't just a long summer day. This is the day. It's a day that will last for months and then years, until it becomes the only day this side of the planet will ever know. In this strange new world, the very rhythm of life, the fundamental clockwork of sunrise and sunset that has governed existence for billions of years has ground to a halt. The Earth has stopped spinning relative to the sun. It's a profound and unsettling thought, isn't it? This scenario forces us to confront how deeply our lives are tied to our planet's rotation. We take the 24-hour cycle for granted. It dictates our sleep, our work, our societies. It drives the weather patterns that water our crops. It gives us the comforting predictability of morning, noon, and night. But what if that was all taken away? What if one half of our world was plunged into an eternal searing day and the other into an endless frozen night? This isn't just a flight of fancy. It's a genuine possibility in the universe. It's a state known as tidal locking, and it's surprisingly common out there amongst the stars. Exploring this what-if scenario is more than just a thought experiment. It's an exercise in appreciating the delicate and intricate balance that makes our world habitable. By imagining a planet so radically different from our own, we can begin to see the hidden forces that shape our reality. So how could our planet get stuck in such a state? The answer lies in a force we are all familiar with: gravity. But it's not just about gravity pulling us towards the sun. It's about the difference in gravity's pull across the planet. Think of the Earth as a slightly squishy ball of rock and water. The sun's gravity pulls a little more strongly on the side of the Earth facing it, and a little less strongly on the side facing away. This difference in pull stretches our planet ever so slightly, creating what we call tidal bulges. You see this effect every day with our own moon, which creates the ocean tides. These bulges, one on the side facing the sun and one on the side opposite, act like handles. As the Earth spins, it tries to drag these bulges along with it. But the sun's gravity keeps pulling back on them, trying to keep them aligned. This creates a tiny amount of friction. It's a constant, gentle braking force. Over immense timescales, billions of years, this gravitational braking slows down a planet's rotation. It's like a spinning top slowly wobbling to a halt, but on a planetary scale. We see this all over our solar system. The most famous example is our own moon. It is tidally locked to Earth, which is why we always see the same face: the man in the moon. The far side of the moon remained a complete mystery to us until we sent spacecraft to see it. On a tidally locked Earth, our planet would become a world of two starkly different hemispheres. There would be no day and night as we know it. There would only be the day side and the night side. One hemisphere, the one perpetually facing the sun, would be a scene of unimaginable heat. The sun would hang motionless in the sky, a searing, unblinking eye, baking the landscape day after day, century after century. Temperatures here would soar far beyond anything we experience on Earth today. The oceans would boil away, and the land would become a cracked, sterile desert of scorched rock. This subsolar point, the spot directly beneath the sun, would be the hottest place on the planet, a true furnace. The light would be relentless, with no dusk to offer relief, no night to cool the blistered ground. On the opposite side of the world, the night side, lies an entirely different kind of hell. Here, the sun would never rise. This hemisphere would be locked in a perpetual, unending night, a darkness deeper than any polar winter. Without any sunlight to warm it, the temperature would plummet to unimaginable lows, far colder than Antarctica. The surface would be a vast frozen wasteland. Any oceans would be capped with a sheet of ice kilometers thick. The very air above would grow so cold that the atmosphere itself could freeze, snowing out onto the surface as nitrogen and carbon dioxide ice. This would be a realm of absolute silence and stillness, a world entombed in ice. The stars would be the only source of light, shining with a brilliant clarity in a sky free of atmospheric haze, but offering no warmth. Just like the day side, this frozen expanse would be utterly inhospitable to life as we know it. Between the furnace of the day side and the deep freeze of the night side, there would exist a sliver of hope. This is the Terminator Zone, a permanent ring of twilight that separates eternal day from eternal night. Here, the sun would hang forever on the horizon, perpetually caught in a state of sunrise or sunset. This narrow band, wrapping around the entire planet, would be the most valuable real estate on a tidally locked Earth. It's here, in this realm of perpetual dawn and dusk, that the conditions for life might just be possible. The temperatures in this twilight zone would be far more moderate than in either of the extreme hemispheres. The low-angled sunlight would provide enough energy to melt the ice flowing from the night side, but not so much as to boil the water away as on the day side. This could create a remarkable environment where vast rivers of meltwater flow from the edge of the great ice caps. Life in the twilight zone would be unlike anything on Earth today. Plants, if they could adapt, would have to evolve to take advantage of the constant low-angled light. Perhaps they would grow sideways, with broad leaves angled perfectly towards the unmoving sun on the horizon. For animals and humans, this zone would be the only place to live. It would be a world where you could choose your climate simply by walking. If you wanted it a bit warmer, you would walk east towards the day side. If you preferred it cooler, you would walk west into the deeper twilight. The extreme temperature difference between the day side and the night side would create weather patterns of unimaginable violence. The air on the sun-baked side would become superheated, causing it to expand and rise. Meanwhile, the air on the frozen night side would become incredibly dense and cold, causing it to sink. This massive difference in temperature and pressure would create a simple but powerful global wind pattern. Air would flow from the cold, high-pressure night side towards the hot, low-pressure day side, creating a constant planet-circling atmospheric conveyor belt. These would not be gentle breezes. The winds could reach speeds of hundreds of kilometers per hour, far faster than any hurricane on Earth today. The twilight zone would be a place of perpetual storms. The collision of hot and cold air masses would trigger rainfall and weather phenomena of epic proportions. Imagine a permanent wall of thunderstorms raging along the dawn and dusk lines, with lightning that never ceases and rain that never stops falling. The oceans would be similarly affected. The powerful winds would push the surface water, creating enormous ocean currents. These currents would flow from the cold side to the hot side, where the water would evaporate, get carried back by the winds, and fall as rain or snow over the cooler regions. This chaotic weather would present one of the greatest challenges to life. Any structures would need to withstand constant gale-force winds. Agriculture would be incredibly difficult, as plants would be battered by storms. Surviving would mean finding shelter from a planet that is always at war with itself. Life on a tidally locked Earth would face an evolutionary ultimatum: adapt or die. On the day side, only the most extreme forms of life, known as extremophiles, might survive. Maybe deep underground, shielded from the searing radiation and heat, microbes could find a niche near geothermal vents. Or, who knows, maybe some form of silicon-based life, something straight out of science fiction, could evolve to withstand the furnace-like temperatures on the surface. But for carbon-based life like us, honestly, it would be a barren wasteland. On the night side, the challenges would be different, but just as severe. The surface would be sterile and frozen. But deep beneath the miles-thick ice sheets, there could be a liquid water ocean, kept warm by the planet's internal heat. In this dark, high-pressure world, life could potentially thrive around hydrothermal vents, just as it does in the abyss of Earth's oceans. These ecosystems would be entirely independent of sunlight, deriving their energy from chemical reactions fueled by the planet's core. The twilight zone is where the real drama of adaptation would unfold. Animals would need to cope with the constant wind. Perhaps land animals would evolve to be low to the ground, with aerodynamic bodies to reduce drag, or they might live in burrows and caves to escape the worst of the storms. For flying creatures, the unidirectional wind could actually be an advantage, letting them glide for enormous distances with little effort, migrating along the Terminator line. Vision would adapt to the permanent low-light conditions, with large eyes like those of owls or nocturnal animals. Humans would face the most profound challenges. Our bodies are tuned to a 24-hour cycle of light and dark, known as the circadian rhythm. Living in perpetual twilight would have significant psychological and physiological effects. We would have to rely entirely on artificial clocks to regulate our sleep, work, and social lives. The constant howling wind and dim light could lead to widespread depression and sensory disorders. Our entire culture, built around the cycles of the day, would have to be reinvented. Human civilization on a tidally locked Earth would be fundamentally reshaped. Our cities would no longer be scattered across the globe. They would be concentrated in long, narrow bands within the habitable twilight zone. The very concept of a nation might change, replaced by city-states or federations defined by their longitude. A city's location would determine its climate, its economy, and its culture. Moving a few hundred kilometers east or west would be like moving to an entirely different climatic zone. Architecture would have to be completely rethought. Buildings would need to be incredibly robust, designed to withstand the constant, powerful winds. They might be built low to the ground with aerodynamic dome-like shapes, or carved directly into mountainsides for protection. Cities might even be built underground or in vast interconnected cavern systems to escape the relentless weather on the surface, creating a subterranean society. Technology would be paramount for survival. Energy would be plentiful. Vast arrays of solar panels could be placed on the edge of the dayside, soaking up unending sunlight to power the cities in the twilight zone. Meanwhile, wind turbines placed in the stormiest regions would generate a near infinite supply of energy. Food production would likely take place in massive indoor hydroponic farms, shielded from the harsh external environment and lit by artificial grow lights powered by this abundant energy. Technology would be the barrier that stands between humanity and extinction. Society itself would change. A world without a day-night cycle would require new social structures. The 24-hour society would become the norm, with work, rest, and recreation scheduled around the clock by artificial means. The view of the perpetual sunset or sunrise would become a deeply ingrained part of culture, art, and religion. Perhaps society would be divided into sunsiders and nightsiders, those living on the warmer and cooler edges of the habitable zone, each with their own distinct cultures, forever gazing at the same unmoving horizon. We have journeyed to a hypothetical Earth, a world split down the middle by light and darkness. We've seen the scorched deserts of the dayside and the frozen wastes of the nightside. We've walked the narrow, stormy twilight zone, the only place where life as we know it could possibly take hold. We've imagined the incredible adaptations required for plants, animals, and humans to survive in a world where the sun never sets and the wind never stops blowing. It's a world that is both terrifying in its hostility and beautiful in its stark simplicity. This thought experiment does more than just paint a picture of an alien world. It holds up a mirror to our own. It forces us to appreciate the delicate dance of our planet's rotation, a simple spin that creates the rhythm of our lives. The 24-hour cycle, the rising and setting of the sun, the changing seasons, these are not just background details. They are the fundamental engine of our climate, our biology, and even our psychology. They are the subtle, powerful forces that have shaped every living thing on this planet, including us. Our world is not a static rock. It is a dynamic, breathing system. The story of a tidally locked Earth is a story of balance. It shows how a slight change in one planetary property can cascade into a complete transformation of the entire world. It highlights the knife edge on which habitability rests. The conditions that make Earth so perfect for life, its spin, its distance from the sun, its atmosphere, are a result of a long and fortunate cosmic history. We are living in a precious, fleeting moment of stability, on a rare jewel of a world that is, for now, perfectly balanced. And so, we are left with a final, thought-provoking question. As we look out into the cosmos, knowing that tidally locked planets are likely the galactic norm, we must wonder, could life on such a divided world ever develop the unified global perspective we are just beginning to achieve on Earth? Or would a species that evolves in a world of permanent, uncrossable boundaries always see the universe and each other as a place of irreconcilable division?